everybody. How are you doing? Thank you for having me here today. Let me start my talk with a story from my childhood. When I was 8 years old, I built my first kitchen. Not the plastic toy kitchen as what you might be thinking, but a real one with fire and everything. It was summer holidays more than 30 years ago in Da Nang. Our house didn't have a fridge yet, and computers or smartphones weren't even a thing. My little sister and I picked up 2 bricks from a construction site nearby, placed them side by side in the front yard, and bam, our stove was ready. Fuel, we scavenged leftover sugarcane husk from a sugarcane juice cut down the street. Our pot, an empty old condensed milk can that we found lying around. We tossed in a handful of rice, plucked whatever veggie we could spot in the garden, sometimes some red spinach, sometimes some green peas. That would be our main course. And then we got to work. I was blowing on the fire, coughing through the smoke, while my little sister giggled and stirred our fancy meal. It was chaos. It was messy. But you know what? When we sat down to eat, it was the best meal I had ever tasted in my life. The rice was smoky from the fire. The greens were crisp and earthy. It was alive in a way I will never forget. Looking back, I realized something. We weren't just playing chefs. We were living sustainably, like deeply sustainably, without even knowing it. We cooked with what was around us, what was local, what was ripe right then. Not because we were wise, not because we were trying to be eco-friendly, but because, well, that's all we had. We didn't have other choices. And honestly, that lack of choice is what made those meals magical. We didn't think about carbon footprints or food miles. We simply trusted what nature gave us. We cooked with what was there when it was there. I think about that a lot now. Back then, I trusted what nature gave me without even realizing it. Whatever the land handed me, I would play with it. Whatever was growing, that's what we ate. Summer meant mangoes, lychees, and jackfruits. Rainy seasons meant taro and morning glory. It was instinct. It was simple. And it worked. That messy meal taught me something I didn't understand until years later. The best meal doesn't come from control, it comes from trust. But it took leaving home to see that. Fast forward to when I was 19, I left home for the first time to study abroad in Singapore. And the first time I stepped into a supermarket there, I felt like I had entered into this magical world. This was over 20 years ago, okay? Back then in Vietnam, supermarkets were still rare. And suddenly, I was in this wonderland where apples sat in perfect rows and avocados were available whenever I wanted, and the tomatoes looked identical no matter the season. I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing. It was so convenient, so predictable, but something about it also felt wrong. The tomatoes I bought were always shiny, always red, always the same size, but they never tasted like the tomatoes I had from my grandfather's garden. They were so bland because they lacked the earth's timing. A few years later, I moved to Germany for a graduate school, and I heard people talking about eating seasonally. And I was like, Wait, that's the thing? They were so excited about it, like it was some cutting-edge idea. And I was sitting there thinking, hold up, this is new. My ancestors in Vietnam were doing this forever. When I started researching Vietnamese cuisine, I realized our ancestor has figured this out long ago. Eating seasonally isn't just a culinary preference. It's a way of life passed down through generations. And that's what led me to write my cookbook, Vegan Vietnamese. Not because I wanted to follow the trend of clean eating or a healthy lifestyle, but because I realized eating with the season, especially plant-based, is a philosophy of life. A philosophy that is both ancient but absolutely right. For thousands of years, humans ate with the season, in tune with the rhythm of nature. The land decided what was for dinner. Not marketing, not logistics, not global trade. But now, we expect everything, everywhere, all at once. We want mangoes in winter and avocados all year round. We've been trained to think that convenience equals progress. But at what cost? At the cost of flavor, because produce is harvested too early to ripen naturally. At the cost of health, because foods grown out of season often lacks nutrients. At the cost of the planet, because transporting food across the globe burns more fuel than we like to think about. As a child, I naturally lived by this rule, eating what was around me, playing with the earth, cooking with the season. As an adult, I lost that connection. But here's the beautiful thing. Nature is patient. It doesn't hold grudges. It's still offering us its best if we are willing to listen. And this is something else that worries me. It's the obsession with imported food. More and more young Vietnamese believe that imported food is always superior, that American apples must be tastier than local ones, that Australian beef is obviously higher quality than Vietnamese beef, that Chilean avocados are richer and creamier than Dak Lak avocados. I mean, having more choices is great, but what concerns me is this. Some people are starting to look down on our own local produce. I've heard people say, can we even trust Vietnamese vegetables? Or only imported meat is good enough. We forget that the most nutritious, the fresh food is often what grows right here in our land, in sync with our environment. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a crisp cherry or a rich slice of French cheese as much as anyone. But let's be honest, imported doesn't always mean better. It only means different. And rejecting our own local produce, dismissing Vietnamese ingredients as not good enough, doesn't make us any more international. It only distances us from the food that is naturally the best fit for us. So, what can we do? You don't have to go vegan today or move to a farm. I'm not a strict vegetarian either. People often assume I am because I wrote a plant-based cookbook. But my book isn't about forcing anyone to go vegan or follow a strict diet. It's about something old and true. Eating with the land, not against it. The best meal of your life isn't just about taste. It's about the stories behind it. The way a seasonal mangosteen explodes with flavor, because that's exactly what the nature meant for you to have right now. So here is my challenge for you. Next time you're at the market or even at the grocery store, stop for a second. Ask yourself, what's the nature is giving me today? Don't force the recipe. Just let the ingredients pick the meal. Maybe it's a crusted apple that's right today. Maybe it's a handful of mustard greens. Just try one thing, one fruit, one vegetable that's in season where you are. Just one small shift at a time. And if you really want to experience the magic, cook it yourself. Even if it's simple, even if it's messy, even if it's just you alone in the kitchen, chopping up what the nature has offered you today. Because here's the deal. For thousands of years, humans lived by a simple rule. Eat what the earth gives you when it gives it to you. It's a rule that we forgot, but it's a rule worth remembering. And maybe, just maybe, some of the best meals of our lives are still waiting for us if we are willing to trust the land again. Thank you.